Hello pumpkin people, and welcome to Willowdale's backyard farm. And I'm here to give you guys not an update on the pumpkin, but just another video in a series that I'm calling like how to grow your giant pumpkins organically, and just little tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, because it is a bit different from growing the way that the pros do. Disclaimer, my biggest pumpkin is only 500 pounds. But we consider that pretty big, considering this is a space that's about 20 feet long by 15 wide that we're growing in. So it's pretty tiny, this little backyard. And that definitely was a big pumpkin in 2018 that we grew. So the first thing I thought that might be useful for you guys is the use of leaf mulch and wood chips on your pumpkin patch. You can see here that the whole patch is covered with it. And you can also see that there are no weeds, right? So it's fantastic. So it really reduces a lot of the labor when you're kind of busy doing other stuff like feeding your pumpkin like crazy. You don't want to have to be weeding as well. So it really helps keep the weeds down. It also helps for you to retain moisture. So if you get a good rainfall and you've got leaves and chips on there, you're going to retain more moisture, which is what the pumpkin plant wants. Now you do want to make sure when you're getting your chips, which you can get for free from your local arborist or tree cutting service, just make sure that they're including leaf mulch, like leaf as well as branch, because those two balance out nicely. There's one is alkaline and one is acid, so you want to have a mixture. Alright, so you can get that for free from your local tree cutting service. And in fact, last year I got about 7 yards of it delivered right to my doorstep. And yeah, each year that I've grown like our biggest pumpkins, we've used the chips that year, I've noticed. So they are good. You can check out online on YouTube videos by Paul Gauchi. He talks about using wood chips and how effective they are. So yeah, go check out Paul's stuff. And that's the first tip I wanted to kind of share with you guys. The second one is walking boards. So if you look over here, you'll see I've got a little chunk of 4x4 there supporting like a 6-foot piece of, it's like a 1 by 12, right? So you can get these planks, of course, at your local, Home Depot, wherever. But you want to have walking boards strategically placed throughout your patch. So once your plant is kind of shot out like 10, 12 feet, you want to make sure you got all your boards ready to go, because in our case, like, I need to be able to navigate the whole plant to feed. So I'll just show you guys. I'll actually go in there and do this live. So here comes the pumpkin plant dance. Stepping onto a board here. You don't want to step on your roots because if you want to grow a giant pumpkin, like we're talking 500 to 1,000 pounds, you cannot step on your roots. Okay, so there's the main vine there, and I want to get in here and water, right? So I've got my walking board. I can get right to where I need to, because I water by hand. I'm not watering above with a sprayer. I'm actually getting in here with a watering can, and I'm watering along the entire length of the main vine. Okay guys, so that requires walking boards. So I've got them basically in between all the secondaries that shoot out from the main vine. I've got walking boards. So there's another one there, so we can just hop over there. Right? Oopsies. And you don't want to do that. I just accidentally cracked that leaf there. So yeah, so you want to walk a little more carefully than that. Anyway, so there's the main vine again, and you can see I've watered and fed it today. So it's literally just 6 inches on either side of the main vine is where I'm watering. I don't have like the time to water the entire plant, like all the secondaries, so we just have to hope that we get some good rainfall for that. But I do water the whole main vine, which runs from, there's a stump over there, and she runs about 25 feet out here, and 35 feet, 40 feet, and then she's continuing up in the air. And actually there's the pumpkin, if we can get a little view there. I'll show you guys how she's doing. Sort of hard to see, but she's nestled in there. And yeah, she's probably sitting around 60 something, maybe 70 pounds now. She's growing nice, so we're hoping for a continued warm September. But yeah, and the vine is growing like The vine actually doesn't stop there. The main vine continues up here. It's growing through my tomato box, then up onto the back fence, and it's continuing along here and right out towards the neighbor's yard. So yeah, I wanted to keep her going because I want these secondaries and the main vine leaves to feed that plant, because basically every leaf is worth about 4 to 5 pounds, I think I heard. So yeah, you want as many as you can get, both in front of the pumpkin and in behind the pumpkin. So that's what we're doing here. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. So tip number 2 was walking boards. There's another one there. You want to make sure they're well distributed throughout your patch before the season, like before your plant really gets growing, right? Because you want to be able to navigate. In our case, I mean, if you're doing sprays like above ground sprays for your feeding and all that, then that's a whole different can of worms. But for us, I'm feeding out of a watering can, so I need to have these walking boards strategically located. But the main thing is, don't walk on your pumpkin patch, okay? Because the roots are everywhere, and you need to keep those roots healthy. So there's a walking board there. Anyway, the last thing I thought I'd mention, guys, is when you're when you're considering your feeding regimen for your plant, I like to do, in addition to just a standard like tomato fertilizer, this is good, right? You can use that once every 2 weeks. You can use that stuff, and that is essential. You need a well-balanced regimen. But in addition to the NPK, I like to use each year. I use some seaweed. This is Kelpman, but you can get other versions online or at your local nursery. And I also like to use fish emulsion. So I use both of those together. And I'll usually do, let's see, 3/8 of a cup of the fish emulsion to a gallon tank. And I'll use about 20 ml, or roughly a tablespoon in a bit of the Kelpman or the seaweed. So you got your seaweed, your fish, and a gallon of water, mix it up, and you can do a foliar spray. The plant loves that. You can give it a nice foliar spray. Or you can do a feeding right on the roots. So I do both, and you can do that once a week, and it's basically giving your plant all the micronutrients that it needs to be healthy. Okay, so that's important. Now I'm trying out some new stuff here, guys, this year, so I won't really talk about that. If you want to learn about this kind of stuff, go visit the pros like Mark Clements on YouTube, Josiah Brandt, Moby Mike. You can find all those guys on YouTube and get some really great videos and knowledge about how to use this kind of stuff. But the year we grew our biggest one, all we did was just use a standard tomato fertilizer like this. So it's an 8, 10, 15, and I would use that once every 2 weeks. I applied about, I would say, yeah, about 3 cups worth, like along the entire main vine, and that's all I did. Was I used that every 2 weeks, and then I used the fish and seaweed emulsion every week, doing foliar sprays and feeds right onto the vine. And I guess our soil was pretty good, and we grew a giant. So hope that was fun, guys. I'm running out of time here, so we'll sign off from Willowdale's backyard farm.